Welcome to the This Mum Loves Tech podcast, the go-to show for female business owners who want to simplify tech and get the support they need to grow their online businesses with confidence. I'm Nicola Walsh, your podcast host. I'm also a mum to two cheeky boys and I love tech, so you don't have to. I'm here to share actionable tips, tools, and strategies that will help you streamline your business and make the tech work for you. So, whether you're watching after the kids have gone to bed or listening while on the school run, let's dive into today's episode and make tech that little bit easier. Hello and welcome to today's episode of This Mum Loves Tech. I thought it was about time I told you my tech story and kind of how This Mum Loves Tech came to life and how I got to where I am today. So let's start at the beginning of this journey, and really to say I didn't ever plan to have my own business. I had my eldest son in 2018, and before I went on maternity leave, I was like 100% sure that I'd be going back. Like, we kind of all planned that I would have the year off and then I'd be back. I already had like projects assigned to me because I worked in a children's publishing company, they'd already kind of thought of how me coming back was going to work and all that kind of thing, because it just wasn't a question that I at the time before I actually had the baby that I wasn't going to come back. And then obviously I had my eldest son, and kind of everything changed, as I'm sure it does for so many when they have a baby, and it kind of really put things into perspective of what did I actually want my life with this new baby to be. And I realized what I didn't want was to be stuck on a train for a couple of hours every day, going in and out of London. Unfortunately, this was like before COVID times and kind of working from home and all that kind of thing. It just wasn't really a viable option. So I made the really super difficult decision not to go back. It wasn't because I didn't like the people I worked with, I didn't love the job, because I really did. I really loved helping create these books. And it was so ironic that I spent 12 years creating these beautiful books for babies and children, and now I had an actual child of my own and I wasn't going to be doing that. And it did take me a couple of months to kind of think, well, what am I going to do next? And I started working for some smaller local companies, still doing kind of the graphic design stuff that I'd been doing before. But because these companies were so much smaller, I couldn't just do one type of graphic design. I really had to expand my skills into kind of looking at digital design and websites, social media, all that kind of thing. And I realized I really needed to upskill. I hadn't done any learning since I left college, because I didn't go to uni. I literally left college, and a week later I started full-time employment, and I'd kind of been in full-time employment since I was 18. So yeah, this was the first time where I'd really kind of put some focus back onto my learning again. And really the first time where I was learning something that I really wanted to learn. You know, obviously when you're in school and college and all that kind of stuff, I remember I had to do PE at school so that I could do IT, because their theory was that for me to sit in front of a computer, I had to move. So I had to do things and learn things that I didn't want to do. Unsurprisingly, PE was my lowest GCSE grade. Yeah, so this was the first time where I had chosen to learn, and it really got me excited. So my very first kind of course that I signed up to on this new learning path was a social media course with Tech Pixies. It was to learn how to use all these different social media platforms, which before then I'd really kind of only just dabbled in personally, thrown a few posts here and there on Facebook, and that was about it. And it was really learning how I could use these platforms from a business point of view. But what Tech Pixies gave me was also working a lot on my mindset. And what I didn't realize was the confidence I had in my abilities at that time was so, so low. I'd been in the same job for 12 years. Because I didn't have a degree, I didn't feel like I could move on to anywhere else, because a lot of the jobs that were looking for graphic designers, one of the minimum requirements they had was a degree in graphic design. I didn't have that. Like, I was just very fortunate that when I started my publishing journey, the person that hired me also didn't have a design background, and so they took me on because of my other skills. But I wasn't so sure if that was going to happen in the future, and so I just didn't apply for anything. And yeah, my confidence was at this low level. And it was while I was working on my confidence through the Tech Pixies, the mindset side, and really kind of getting over my fear of being in front of the camera, of showing up and being just me, that I really started to realize that I kind of wanted to do things my own way. Now, if you ask my family, they'll always say that I've kind of wanted to do things a bit my own way. But over COVID and all that kind of stuff, I was really fortunate that I got furloughed from the job that I was in, so I could spend time because my oldest son at the time was about 2.5. So obviously, someone had to look after him, and I was really lucky that I had that opportunity to do that. And then as a kind of everyone came back from COVID and things started to open up again, the job that I was in then, unfortunately, that company didn't survive COVID. So then I had to find another one. Yeah, and I really then kind of started to dabble with this idea of, can I actually do this myself? And so in 2021, I kind of just put a name out there into the world, started posting on social media. And at the time I was, because I'd just done a social media course, I focused on social media on Instagram and Pinterest because they were what I'd done a CPD in to get certified in social media management. Because I still had my part-time work, I had my young son, he wasn't quite at school age yet. So I never really put full effort into my business. It just kind of was something there that if someone asked for something, I'd be like, yeah, I can do that. Like I was registered, I could like tax registered and all that kind of thing. So it kind of trundled along for a couple of years. And then I had my second son. So I had him in 2022. And the year that I had him and I was on maternity leave again was the year that my eldest started school. And that first term that he was in reception, he got tonsillitis, a viral infection, and chickenpox. And I think throughout the whole term, he only actually made one full week of school. And I remember saying to my husband, how in the world are we going to make this work with me having a job? I was always going to have to reduce my hours because I've been doing 3 full days a week because he'd been in nursery, but nursery was like 8 till 5. We were going down to 9 till 3 with school hours, and we couldn't afford to put him in after school clubs and all that kind of thing because like my hours was going to drop and all that stuff. So yeah, it was just like, I can't see how I can get the flexibility to work around my eldest being at school. The people that I worked with at the part-time job at the time, they were so lovely and so accommodating. And before that, when there'd been anything with my son, they'd been like, yes, of course, kids go first. It was such a lovely environment. But the amount of time he was off and then the school holidays and all that kind of stuff, I was just like, I don't have enough holiday days, sick days to cover this. So my husband and I, we had a really good chat. And obviously I had this kind of little kind of seedlings of a business going on in the background. And I said to him, like, how would he feel about me giving it a go? And we looked over our finances and had like lots and lots of chats about it, and we decided that we was going to give it 6 months. We could afford for me to give it a go for 6 months, and then I just said at the end of the 6 months, if it hasn't worked, I will get another job somewhere somehow. And I have to say, it did not start well. Definitely for the first month and a half, 2 months of me being all in on my business, I questioned myself pretty much every other day of why have I done this? Because it was just hard work. And what I've realized now is because my messaging wasn't right. I didn't fully define what it was that I did and why I did it and who I could help. Like I was kind of like, yeah, I do Instagram and Pinterest. And by that point, I think I'd decided to specialize in Pinterest. But even then, I didn't really know why I was specializing in Pinterest and how it could help people. And then it was coming near to the end of that 6 months. I'd also just had an operation because when I had my youngest, I got gallstones, which was fun. And the operation was in February. And as that all happened, I had the operation. The changes came in with Google Workspace. Not with Google Workspace, with Google and Yahoo. Now, for those of you that don't know, I have mentioned it on a previous podcast episode, but there is a new domain authentication changes that came into effect in February 2024. And basically, what this means is that people now needed to have a professional email address to be able to use email marketing. They had to do add loads of records to their domain, and people didn't even know who owned their domain and where to add the records. And I'd done mine, and I just did mine because I was like, oh yeah, that's something I have to do. And then I realized that people were struggling with this. And I started having conversations with a few of the clients that I had. I just kind of sorted theirs out because I was working with them anyway. And as I helped one person, they then told somebody else. And it's kind of this kind of roll on effect happened where I ended up doing loads and loads of these domain authentications, setting up people's emails in Google Workspace, because that's my platform of choice, as you already know. And yeah, it got to this point where I was like super, super busy. And I remember I did a challenge. It was a Lisa Johnson challenge. I think it was Race to Recurring Revenue. And I was answering a few questions because that kind of tech stuff came up, because obviously if we're trying to create passive income, create automated systems, you need email marketing, you need to authenticate your domain. So I was answering a few people's questions, and they were friend requesting me on Facebook. And I keep my Facebook account private. I only like accept people's friends requests if I've actually like met them in person, or I've worked with them, or if they obviously they are family and friends, because I share pictures of my boys. I try not to share pictures of their faces on social media, just because I kind of want to protect them when they're older, you know, make it be their choice when they're shown and when they're not. So often if you see a video of them, it's from the back of their head or like slightly side on or something, so you can't see them full face on. I very rarely put a photo of them face on. So yeah, I didn't want to have loads of people. I didn't want to grow my Facebook profile in that way. So I was messaging people and saying, oh, I'm really sorry, like I'm keeping my Facebook profile private. And a lot of people were then coming back to me and saying, oh, do you have a Facebook group instead? And I was like, no, I do not. And I kind of already had an idea to create a podcast, this podcast, in fact. And in my head, I was like, because I'm going to be talking about tech, people are probably going to have questions. So I was thinking I would create a Facebook group to go with the podcast so people can come to the Facebook group and ask their questions related on the episode. And for one reason or another, the podcast hasn't happened, but I thought, well, I can just set up the Facebook group, surely. So that's what I did after getting a few people requesting, have you got a Facebook group? I thought, well, let's do that. So I called it the This Mum Loves Tech Community. I put that the podcast was coming soon in the top banner. And in April of 2024, This Mum Loves Tech Community was born. Now, I was still dilly-dallying on the podcast, as you know, because we're now in January of 2025, and it's only coming out into the world now. So I had this Facebook group and people were starting to join it. And I was like, well, I need to give people something. I need to give them a reason to stay in this group. And I was like, the podcast, for one reason or another, is not happening. What can I do? And I was like, well, I can just get on a call, get on a Zoom call, because I'd been doing it with clients anyway, and just teaching some of the stuff that I'd learned. Because what I had realized and discovered through doing the courses that I had done, even going back to my days in the children's publishing world, is that I have this ability to take on tech quite fast. I can understand it. That's kind of my superpower, as it will. And then I can explain it back to people in a simplified and calm manner. Like, I know you're not going to understand it if it's the first time you've ever learned something. That if this is very new to you, you are not going to get it. You are going to make mistakes, and it's going to take you some time to get it. You're probably going to need to be shown the same thing a few times, and that's okay. This is where I discovered that I can teach people how to use the programs that I have picked up over this kind of journey of the last 4 or 5 years since I took that shift and started learning all these digital tools. So yeah, so I started doing my free masterclasses, and more people started showing up to them. So then in September of 2024, I decided to create a membership. I took the masterclasses that I'd already recorded, because I recorded them from the off, because I was hoping I was going to do something with them at some point, and offered them out to the ladies that wanted to join the membership so they could get access to them. and then offered Q&A calls. So I said I would come onto Zoom at a set time and people could just come along and ask me their tech questions. And if I can solve them, I will, try and solve them. And if I can't, then I'll hopefully be able to pass them on to somebody that I knew from my kind of connections that can help them, or kind of advise them what they could put into Google to kind of get some videos on YouTube or something that could help them. And yeah, that's really where this Loves Tech membership and community was born. And today we now have 41 members of the membership. We now have guest speakers coming and talking to us about a variety of different tech tools, ones that I don't specialize in, or other areas of business like mindset and visioning and confidence, all those things that we still need as business owners to help us run our business. And now I also have this podcast. So I hope you've enjoyed this kind of little background story into how this Mum Loves Tech was born and why I've kind of taken this path and where it's led me to today. I just love helping people. It's something I've always wanted to do. Like when I wasn't sure what I was doing after I left publishing, I looked at being like a driving instructor, a teacher, senior school, not primary school, because I had a primary school kid at home and I did not want to teach them as much as I love them. But yeah, I just wanted to do something where I could help other people move forward. And yeah, I've always enjoyed, I trained a lot of the juniors when I was in the publishing. And yeah, I really feel like now, however, I started in 2020, I started the business when I very first had the idea to set it up in 2021. And now here in 2025, I really feel like I have found kind of my groove with it, if you were. I don't know a really better way of saying it, but kind of what I am good at. And what I am good at is breaking down tech and helping you understand it, helping you keep making it simple so that you can get these tech tools up and running so that they can help you grow your business. Because let's face it, tech is something we all need as online business owners. Without it, even just the simple tech of having this laptop to record this video and having Zoom and having it saved to the cloud and then I'm going to put it on the podcast. There's so many different tools and processes that need to happen to make so many different areas of our business work. And I just want to help people get it set up so they can do what they love. Because obviously for me, the tech is the thing. The tech is the thing that I love. But for most other people, that is not their thing. Their thing is helping people with their mindset, or is helping people with how they look if they're like a personal stylist. It's helping people with yoga and learning how to move and be healthier. There's so many things that we're all good at, and tech is my thing, so I want to now share that with everybody. And yeah, and that is why this Mum Loves Tech is here. So thank you for listening. I'm going to put some of the links in the show notes of the courses that I've done, the ones that I've been, the memberships that I'm in, just links to kind of the things that I've done to take me on my journey. And obviously, if you would love to come and join the This Mum Loves Tech community, come and look for us on Facebook. It's free, completely free to join. The masterclasses each month are completely free. You just need to sign up for them. But they're completely free, hour of learning each month. And I hope that I can help you with your tech so that you can move your business forward. And I hope to see you on the next episode.